order to be matir, so maybe according to that take on Beit Hillel, it's still an Issur D'Oraita. Okay? But if you take the Meiri, it sounds like the Issur is not so severe, right? It's an Issur D'Rabbanan, or maybe just an Eitzah Tova Kamashmalan, and we say you don't have to stay married if she doesn't do her job. You don't have to stay married to a woman who doesn't take care of the home, doesn't listen to you, so you don't have to stay married. But the Issur then, in the first place, not to be Garesh, the Issur D'Rabbanan. Okay? Yeah.
But it seems like in the Midrash Halacha, they seem to be taking the pasuk seriously. It doesn't seem like just an asmachta, like they're fighting about the word. So it seems hard to say it's not D'Oraita based on the way Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai themselves
I understand that. But you see, it could be a very important nafkamina. Okay, well, just hold on one second. Okay?
You could say about any sifri that it's just not, that it's
but his point is well taken. Okay, because what I'm saying is that even though the arguments between the Tanaim seem to go, they uniformly revolve around the meaning of the pasuk. So either say it's everybody holds it's D'Oraita, and then the question is this word, that word, that word, or everybody holds it's D'Rabbanan, and it's just an asmachta, and then in the asmachta is this word. But to say that this one holds it's D'Oraita and this one holds it's D'Rabbanan when they're all arguing on psukim is not as smooth as we would like. Okay, did I represent you fairly?
So I was saying that it should be. It seems to me like it should be all D'Oraita and not even say all D'Rabbanan. Even D'Rabbanan seems why. For asmachtas, you don't need to care so much about the psukim.
Because sometimes you can have Mr. D'Rabbanan where they're arguing about psukim, it's mashmalut psukim, but there's not halachot midoraita necessarily. Okay? Yeah.
Beit Shammai, with Beit Hillel, you just showed two pathos as far as a protect the woman, protect the family.
Right.
Beit Shammai, with their Issur D'Oraita, it's what?
It's hard to say. It's just we really don't like gerushin. It's an Issur D'Oraita l'garesh for any number of reasons, right? And you need a chiyuv l'garesh l'garesh to protect the woman, especially since if you say ksuba is drabanan, so you don't have ksuba to protect her, so you make it usher, right? Okay. The third part. Now Rabbi Akiva. Okay. So Rabbi Akiva is afilu lo matzan ela na'ehimena. So is that some sort of like real reason? Or it just means whatever you want, that it gives him total latitude. If you take a look at the Meiri, when he describes Rabbi Akiva, continuation of the same part. Rabbi Akiva Omer, we see? Yeah? Rabbi Akiva Omer, afilu matzah acheret na'eh mena, klomar, afilu below shum tam, ela mitzad haratzon. Okay, so that's how the Meiri interprets Rabbi Akiva. Okay? Alright, so that's, so you can't talk about the nature of the Issur. Basically, it turns out that Rabbi Akiva then holds that there's no Issur whatsoever, there's no Issur, there's no Eitzah Tova Kamashmalan, there's no nothing. Okay? Right? I feel below Shum Tam, Ela Mitzad Haratzon.
In that machmir way of describing.
What?
Unless you do the suggestion you made of like Rabbi Akiva in his most machmir, like you actually have to have another.
Right, no, but I'm saying here he says I feel his interpretation of Rabbi Akiva is I feel below Shum Tam Ela Mitzad Haratzon. That's according to the Meiri. In the Rambam, if we go back to the Rambam in Perish HaMishnah, it is b'chol zot mashma that Rabbi Akiva needs some positive reason for gerushin. Read it carefully. I'm not 100% convinced, but it sounds like it. Beit Shammai nismachim b'milat erva. Beit Hillel ba'amro davar. Divrei Rabbi Akiva duchuyim lefi she'im matzah na'ah mimena yisa'ena aleh v'lo yigaresh et zo. Right? He takes it seriously. You're going to tell me that he's allowed to get divorced if he finds somebody else that he wants to marry? That's not grounds for divorce, finding somebody else you want to marry, because you can have more than one wife. But it's mashma that the reasoning, and for some reason Rabbi Akiva rejects that. For some reason, because he might think that Rabbi Akiva doesn't like the idea of having more than one wife, right? That's what comes out of this. Again, that goes to what we were talking before. But he's relating to the reason seriously. In other words, you could have just said, Rabbi Akiva it's a rhetorical flourish, right? It says in the pasuk, Lo matzachem beineha. So what does it mean? He woke up one morning, Lo matzachem beineha, right? Lo matzachem beinav, right? Right? It means that he can divorce whenever he wants, no restrictions. So, and he's just putting it that way. Afilu lo matzah el na'ah mehemena. But the Rambam takes afilu lo matzah na'ah mehemena. He takes it seriously. He says if that's grounds for divorce, it doesn't really hold water because he can marry the second one that he likes better anyway. So he's relating to it as a real reason. Okay? The one who relates to this mefurash as a real reason is in this Perush ala Mishnah back here. Perush ala Mishnah called Hon Ashir. It was written in the 1600s, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So he says as follows. So the next page, right before the Rambam and Hilchot Gerushin, right? Afilu matzah acheret na'ah himena, shneimar vayalon im lo timtzah chen. Afal gav de milishne dekra. Agree with me? Afal gav de milishne dekra mashma da afilu lo matzah acheret. That it's just rhetorical, right? That's what the Meiri would say. Whatever he wants. Mikol makom lo svir leil Rabbi Akiva diyeh kra dafka. That it means no matter what. Listen to his formulation. Dechasa haTorah al mamonan shel Yisrael, kol sheken al benoteihen, shelo titbazu v'te'agnu bichdi.
That's nice.
Right? He could have said it in a nicer way, but no. But what he's saying is that it can't be that a man should be able to divorce his wife for no reason. That's a bizayon. Again, this is clearly talking about protecting the dignity of the woman. It's not about the family, right? It's not about the institution of marriage or anything like that. It's about the woman. Chasa Torah al mamonam shel Yisrael, kol sheken al benoteihen shel Yisrael, right? Shelo titbazu v'te'agnu b'chdi, v'i lav de'ika l'mechesh li'isura, lo havashari lan kra l'tzaer la'isha hazot mishum ta'anug habal. This phrase. Demai chazid de dama didei sumak tfei. That comes from? Right? Mai chaz dam dak sumak tfei. How do you know that killing someone is yereg v'yavor? Who said your blood is more red, is redder than the other person's blood? In other words, he's willing to shed her blood. That's not acceptable. Right? So then what is Rabbi Akiva's position? So there must be some Isser Shebadavar. And it goes back to the Isser of Lo Yisa Adam Isha V'dato Legarsha. Lo Yishem Ishto V'dato Legarsha. Right? Because there's a betrayal here. So what are we afraid of? Matzah Isha Na'eh Himena. He really is not interested in this in his present wife. He's thinking about another woman. That's already justified grounds for divorce. Okay? In other words, there's a positive reason because now there's going to be discord. There's already lack of faithfulness in his heart. So a person is already not faithful in his heart, and he understands that. So then that's justified. That's justified grounds for divorce because there's a chash iser, right? Acheret lo havashari lan kra l'tzaer la'isha azot mishum tanug habal demai chazid dedami didei sumak tfei mima nafshach im hikir ba mitchila kodem shenisa'a harei saviv v'kabil. All of a sudden he found somebody nice. If there's something he doesn't like, he knew about it before, right? V'im nitnavla achar kach harei nistapcha sadeu. Then it's his problem, right? V'im, very sensitive here. V'im hikchish yofia machmat leidat habanim. She's not the same figure that she had when they got married, because in the meantime she had 12 kids, right? Right? Kol shekain v'kol shekain she'eno legarshal zeh. Right? Ki bira deshatit beimaya lo tishdei beikala. Right? You drink water out of a well, you don't throw garbage down the well. Okay? In other words, there's a real betrayal here. Okay? But, says an Isser, does equal, but if kimatzah, ela vaday lo itira Torah legarsha, ela kimatzah ba kvar acheret na'em imena, da'az ikal amechash, shema yishte bekos zeh, v'yitein einav bekos acher, v'yitz'u mehem banim b'lti muhuganim, v'tzar hazeh haya magia gam la'isha atzma, ki ben ksil tugat imo, etc. Lachein ki tegarshena az tov la. Az tov la. Okay? So the prohibition, you want to know who he is, right?
What else does he say?
Right. All right, I'll send you his bio. I'll send you his bio from the Bar.
What did you get? It's from Bible.
Okay, I just did like all the Mepharshei Mishnah. So I found. Okay. Anyway, so clearly here, he actually it's to protect the woman. Clearly, Chasal b'notehem shel Yisrael, and even Rabbi Akiva, right? It's lo alal dato that the husband should have this total leeway to megaresh, and there's a very sensitive description of what it is to protect her. And there was also the consideration for the family, because this situation, it's bad for her, it's bad for him, and if they have kids, it's bad for the kids, right? So at the end of the day, she's going to suffer. So it's better they should get divorced, right? So there's like a mixture of two reasons here. We want to protect the family, and we want to protect the woman. Okay, and this is even within Rabbi Akiva, as opposed to the Meiri. Right? It just says it's just a rhetorical flourish. He can regard whatever he wants. From the Rambam, it's also mashma that there's something real in the claim of Matzah Isha Na'ahemena. What that is, you don't know, but at least this is some grounds. It's not like the Meiri. Okay. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the psak. Okay. You asked before what the psak halacha is here. Okay. So just in terms of the Gemara, it gets a little sticky. Okay? The Gemara gets sticky because until the very end, we have a straightforward machloket, 3 on machloket Tanaim, and the Gemara tells us, it's very nice, the Gemara tells us what each day is based on. He says Erva, he says Davar, right? Fine. And at the end, we have this chiluk between Zivug Rishon and Zivug Sheni. So the question is, now we have to go back. It's like sometimes you discover a certain detail in the sugya, and you have to reinterpret the whole sugya retroactively. Because there's a distinction between Zivug Rishon and Zivug Sheni. So then, where's the machloket Tanaim? Right. So let's take a look at Rashi. Okay. So the Gemara says, I'm at the end of the Gemara. I don't think I gave you Rashi. I apologize. Okay, but just listen. The Gemara is here though. It's the very end. Kisanei shalach. Rabbi Yehuda Omer im sneita shalach. Rabbi Yochanan Amar sanui hamishaleach. Okay. No. But two Amoraim. Rabbi Yehuda is an Amor. Okay. Im saneita shalach. Rabbi Yochanan Amar sanui hamishaleach. V'lo pligi haba zivug rishon haba zivug sheni. Okay. Look at Rashi. Im sneita shalach. Rashi says, "Can Rabbi Akiva." Right? It's also mashma that Rabbi Akiva, if we talked about before, that Rabbi Akiva has some sort of positive content. It's not matzah acher na'ehimena im sneita shalach. You also there's animosity on his part. So if he hates her, so then he can be megarish. Okay? So im sneita shalach, that's Rabbi Akiva. Im snuahi lifnei hamakom shalach. Okay? Kibeit Shammai. Okay? That's two different girsaot. Im snuahi lifnei hamakom shalach. Snua lifnei hamakom is Kibeit Shammai asab ervat davar. V'itgarsi sanui hamishaleach. V'zo shamati sanui hamishaleach lifnei hamakom. V'afilu lebeit Hillel. even according to Beit Hillel, Nehi delo kaifinan shelo lahotzi mihu sanuihu. According to Beit Hillel, this is very important. Hold on. If he brings in, Rashi brings in the Machloket Tanaim into this discussion about Zivug Rishon and Zivug Sheni, right? It means that the Machloket Tanaim, it says,
It's weird, because you'd say Lo Pligi, Ha Rabbi Akiva, Ha Beit Shammai.
okay, hold on. So this is what the very end of the Mishnah Melech slugs through this, which I don't want to do here. But he says, what's the Zivug Rishon? Well, the Zivug Sheni is Im Sneita. The Zivug Rishon is Sanui HaMishaleach. Right? So, the machloket then, between the Tanaim, he says Rabbi Akiva is Im Sneita Shaleach. And then the Gemara says, Lo Kasha, this is Zivug Rishon, this is Zivug Sheni. That's to explain Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yochanan mechalik between Zivug Rishon and Zivug Sheni, right? But it's mashma that Rabbi Akiva himself is even in Zivug Rishon. Okay, so which means that machloket is in Zivug Rishon.
What, Rabbi Akiva is only in Rabbi Yehuda? You could say that Rashi says splits the Mishnah, no? Rabbi
No.
Akiva is talking about Zivug
No, you
Sheni?
can't do that because it's clear that they're cholek and they have to be cholek in the same situation, or else they're not cholek.
Well, that's, I mean, it's not Kimta. Rashi can be making it
No,
a Kimta.
you can't do it. It's against the Mishnah. It's against the way the Gemara understands the Mishnah, right?
It's not, the Gemara doesn't understand. The Gemara doesn't
The
say
Gemara
that.
understands it. It's machlok in the Mishnah.
Right, but we do, but
Right.
we make Gemara makes Kimtas all the time to get rid of Machlokot in the Mishnah.
No.
If he's talking about this scenario, he's talking about this scenario. So can't we say, especially if Rabbi Akiva's with Rabbi Yehuda
No,
according
because
to
they're
Rashi?
dealing with the same, because they talk about the same psukim. Because he says this, what is the Gemara the other way? The Gemara says, Tanya, Amu Beit Hillel Beit Shammai. Right? I say Davar, you say Erva. So they're arguing. Right?
I mean,
Not
you
quote-
can even try to split the psukim and say, like,
No,
you
but,
can
hold
you can-
on. To split the psukim, we'll see. I think it is possible to split the psukim, but not according to the Gemara. The Rambam will see splits the psukim. Okay. So one way of understanding what's going on
Can you
here.
summarize the Rashi, because I don't have it, and I don't have it in front of me, I
Okay.
can't read it, I don't understand what he's saying.
Rashi says that when it says im sneita shalach, before the Gemara says the chiluk zivug rishon zivug sheni,
Uh-huh,
Rashi says that's Rabbi Akiva.
right.
And when it says im snuahi, right, that is kibeit shamai.
So he makes the Machlokot Amorim look like they line up with our Machlokot
Right.
Amorim.
Okay.
And then
That means the machloket is in every zivug, the zivug rishon too. Okay. Okay. So if you look in the tour,
but then
just hold on. I just want to take it to the. If you look in the tour says this explicitly. Okay, let's just get it down here. The tour, the next last source, he quotes the Machloket Tanaim. Okay, I'm not going to read that again. But 5 lines from the bottom, the first line on the line is Yigar Shena. See? He says, Bamed Dvarim Amurim. Agree with me? Bezivug Sheni. Oh, this whole machloket, I apologize, this is in Zivug Sheni. Aber Bezivug Rishon, Ein Lamahel Legarsha. Okay, so I'm sorry. So the Tur says the whole machloket is in Zivug Sheni. In the Shulchan, hold on. What's the in the Shulchan Aruch? In Kuf Yud Tet. Give me a second here. In Kuf Yud Tet. Hold on. Just 1 second. Hold on. The Tur says, let's just start again.
Okay.
The Tur says the Machloket Tanaim is in Zivug Sheni. Zivug Rishon lo yimaher l'garsha. Even, right, sounds like, even under the severe circumstances that we have, that Beit Shammai describes, right? Or maybe everybody agrees to Beit Shammai in Zivug Rishon. That in Zivug Rishon, the only time you can megaresh is if you chayav megaresh. In Zivug Sheni, then you can have machloket. Right? In Zivug Rishon, everybody agreed, because if it's really Gilui Arayot, so of course you have to megaresh, even if it's Zivug Rishon. Okay? But here, so I'm looking in the Beit Shmuel, he says, Lo Yigaresh. He says, he quotes the Tur, Bamedvar Mamurim Bezivug Sheni, Aval Bezivug Rishon Ein Lemahel Legarsha. Right? The Amar Rabbi Eliezer with the Gemara. Right? Kol Megaresh Shto Rishona Uzbech Morid Dma'ot. Okay? Mashma Desvirle Beit Shammai Beit Hillel Pligi Bezivug Sheni. Okay? Then he says, Aval b'zivug rishon modeh beit hillel da'asur legaresh mishum davar v'kra ervat davar ayir b'zivug sheni v'az mutar legaresh mishum erva o mishum davar. Okay. Aval b'Rashi mashma. Okay, listen carefully. The pli b'zivug rishon. Right? That's what I said before. Usvirule afilu zivig rishon mutar legaresh. Talking about Beit Hillel, mutar legaresh mishum davar. Okay? So now we have two possibilities.
That was the Beit Shmuel that you're reading?
Yeah. Okay? He's Medayik in Rashi, what I said. Okay?
Zivug Rishon and Sheni.
Right? Yes.
Right.
No. Just Rishon. In Sheni, you can be Megaresh, maybe we agree to Rabbi Akiva.
Okay, that's not, Rashi's not machriya on that, is he?
He's not machriya, okay? But he says that Rashi thinks it's the machloket is in Zivug Rishon. The Tur says clearly the machloket is in Zivug Sheni. Okay? The Rambam. All right, before we get to the Rambam, Rashi. Hold
How
on.
was the Torah reading the Gemara like that?
Huh? I don't want that. You'll have to go back and read the Gemara. Okay.
It's very
But-
difficult.
Okay. The Rashi says here is very important. He says, "Afilu lebeit Hillel nehi delo kaifinan shelo lahotzi mihu sanuihu." If it's asur lahotzi, right? He understands that when Beit Shammai says asur lahotzi, unless it's ervat davar. If he comes to Beit Din, he wants to be over this Isser, and he wants to be Motzi. Okay? What will Beit Din do?
Nothing.
Will they let him? So Beit Shammai says, Kofin lo lotzi. They won't let him. They won't say not only, look, if he goes ahead on his own and he's Motzi, she's Megureshet. That we know. Okay? We don't say the Gerish is not Chal. But Beit Din will prevent, as much as they can, and they have a lot of power, Beit Din will prevent him from being Megaresh, according to Beit Shammai. But according to Beit Hillel, right, if according to the criteria of Beit Hillel, even when Beit Hillel says it's Asur Legaresh, okay, if she wasn't Makdiach Tavshilo, right, she just wants to be Rabbi Akiva's case, according to Beit Hillel. He just wants to be Megaresh, or she's not spiteful. She's not so spiteful, right? She's only spiteful on bad days. Whatever it is, right? It's not spiteful enough. Or according to that, in those situations, according to Beit Hillel, it's Asur Legaresh. But if he comes to Beit and it says he wants to be Megaresh, then let him be Megaresh. But he's Sanui Lifnei HaMakom. It's not nice. And we say, what you did is not nice. God despises you. But you have Bechira Chavshis. Do what you want.
So why does Rashi
Okay.
feel the need to attach
Oh,
Rabbi
so-
Yochanan to anyone? Rabbi Akiva can also say that. Rabbi Akiva can say you can divorce whenever you want, but God doesn't like you.
But it could be, right? But the point is that I want to make here is the question of Kaifina. Will Beit Din enforce the Isser? And this goes back, this is why I said that the nature of the Isser may be different according to Beit Shammai than Beit Hillel, and certainly Rabbi Akiva. That according to Beit Shammai, you can only be megaresh when you're chayav legaresh. You're talking most probably about an issur deoraita. If a person, when you don't have the proper grounds, right? So the man comes when he does not have the proper grounds for divorce, and he wants to divorce anyway, he's going to be over an issur deoraita. Beit Din will not let him. Right? That's kaifinan. So according to Beit Shammai, because they interpret the issur to garesh as an issur deoraita, either to defend the woman, to defend the family, whichever it is, right? But it's an issur deoraita. Therefore, they will not allow the gerushin to take place. Okay? Whereas according to Beit Hillel, it's reasonable to assume that you're talking only about an issur derabbanan. So an issur derabbanan, you're not allowed. If he comes to Bezdin and he asks, "Can I be megaresh my wife?" I don't know. Can I be megarish my wife? Why do you want to be megarish your wife? I don't know. Whatever. So he's saying no. It's us. We'll tell him no. It's us to be megarish your wife. I want to do it anyway. So okay, we're at your service. We think it's a bad idea. Maybe they'll try to convince him. Maybe they won't. They'll show him the Gemara, but he can be megarish.
Give me another example where there's something Usher Daraban where Beis Din would take an active role.
Oh, that's interesting. It sounds more like I accept that. It sounds like it's more like an Eitz Tova. Lo kaifinan. Let me think for a second. It might be as follows. Let me amend that. In the time of the Gemara, people did not use batei dinim necessarily garesh. They would hire, like the way it's described in the Gemara. They would hire a sofer. They would take two edim. And they'd be megaresh. Not like today, where it's much more centralized. Even if, I don't even talk about Rabban Tarashit, right? But even if you didn't have a Rabban Tarashit, you would still have batei dinim, that local batei dinim that took care of these things, right? But in those days, you didn't have a Beit Din. Apparently, Rabbanim had gainful employment in those days. Okay, so you wouldn't have a Beit Din. So the question is, kaifinan, would Beit Din then send the police to stop you from doing it? Would be the question. So if I change it,
But
right?
in Rashi's case, there probably were Beit Din. I mean, Rashi's life that he's imagining, you know?
But he's describing what's going back then.
Yeah, but he all the times describes what's going on back then. According
Not
to
necessarily.
those
No, he could be
reality.
aware. He could be aware that. First of all, I'm not sure what happened. What was the story in time of Rashi? But when he's talking about kaifinan, it's Beit Din taking the active role in preventing it. He's not saying that they would necessarily. You're right. If they thought that it was usher, then
Why
they
does it
couldn't.
say
They
that
couldn't
it
even
can't be
participate.
Har'el? I don't. Why did
Again, because they didn't do that.
Hold that. And what's the difference between kaifinan and saying it doesn't work?
Because if he does it anyway, is she megureshet or not? Right? He was over at Isser, and Beit Din tried to stop him. He went someplace else. He did it. Right? Okay, so that's
And Rashi does this because he sees that he has to read this machloket kind of.
why he brings in
back
kaifinan here,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think so.
sure. He just says that according to Beit Hillel, nehi delo kaifinan shelo lahotzi miu sanuihu, but it's still not nice. So he's still despised by God, but you want to be despised by God, we're not going to get involved. Okay. They were Republicans. Okay? They had a conservative legal approach. Okay, is that Republican?
Yeah.
Okay. It was what's the opposite of judicial activism? Not judicial
Judicial restraint.
passivity. Judicial restraint. Right. So they exercise judicial restraint. Okay. The interesting thing is the Psak of the Shulchan Aruch, which is the Psak of the Rambam. Let's take a look at the Lashon of the Rambam. It's really fascinating. Yeah.
So the Torah, I know you don't want to say the why, but the implication of the Torah by saying that the machloket is only in the Zivug Sheni actually really does ramp up the Isser, right? But
In
maybe
Zivug Rishon,
it's a
it's
sasa.
Begida.
it's just, you don't do it, we don't want
Right,
to
it's
do
a
it.
Begida. Right? In Zivug Sheni, so
Then we might be a little lenient. So
then we might be a little lenient.
so that ramps up the don't do it aspect, yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. If you take a look at the Rambam, now let's read the psak of the Rambam here. The Rambam is really strange, actually. And it's the psak of Shulchan Aruch as well. Let's read the Rambam carefully. Back in Halgerishin, Perek Yud. Lo yisa adam isha v'dato legarsha. Okay. V'lo tiyeh yoshevet tachtav mishamashto v'dato legarsha. V'lo yigaresh adam. Now listen carefully. V'lo yigaresh adam ishto rishona zivug rishon ela im kein matzaba ervat davar. Who is that like? Beit Shammai in Zivug Rishon. Right, so maybe he holds, but that's very strange to pass like Beit Shammai, right? So maybe he holds the Machloket Tanaim is in Zivug Sheni. In Zivug Rishon, go Beit Shammai. Hold on, 1 second. In Zivug Rishon, that's not the Machloket Tanaim. All the Tanaim agree that in Zivug Rishon, it's Asur unless it's Matzaba Ervat Davar. Okay? Let's try to read the Rambam. Okay? But it is Beit Shammai. So you have to start playing with, and he's talking about Rishon. So maybe in Zivug Sheni, he would say, we expect him to say Beit Hillel, right? Okay, so let's see. Ki matzah be'ervat davar. Ve'ein ra'ui lo l'maher l'shalech ishto rishona. Okay? Aval shniya im sna'a yishalchena. What is that? That sounds like Rabbi Akiva. What happened to Beit Hillel? Fell in between the cracks, right? In Zivug Rishon, he passes like Beit Shammai, and in Zivug Sheni, he passes like Rabbi Akiva, and Beit Hillel is nowhere to be found.
And he said in the Parashah Mishnah that halachos could be Hillel.
He could change his mind.
I don't think even it just emphasizes it.
Okay, fine. A friend of mine wrote a doctorate on the stirot between Beit Hillel, between the Rambam Parashah Mishnah and the Rambam on the Yad. You know how many stirot? I remember I had this conversation a long time ago. You know how many stirot he found? You want to guess? He asked me to guess.
220.
You want to take a guess? How many stirot between the Rambam in the Yad and the Rambam in Parashah Mishnah? So I guessed 50. Anybody want to take a guess?
We know the Rambam is always developing because even
He
versions
found,
of
he
the
discovered,
Mishnah,
he discovered the library, etc., etc.
Did he not go back and edit the Mishnah? Or he only went back and edited
I
the
don't
Mishnah
know,
Torah.
but if he did a bad job because there are 750 contradictions that he found. Okay, he only wrote about some of them, right? But he's found 750 contradictions. So this maybe is one of them. We'll send him an email to see if he can do that this one. In any case, what? Yeah.
When the Rambam quotes Elohim came Matzah Be'ervat Davar, all he's doing is quoting the Torah. So that's obviously not necessarily Beit Shammai. That's everybody. Everyone has to agree with that statement as such, right? Because it's the statement of the Torah.
Except
So you could be reading everyone.
No. But listen carefully. Ela im kein matzaba ervat davar.
Right, but matzaba can be doesn't necessarily mean matzaba could be a subjective kind of thing, according to Rabbi Akiva, and could be a middle ground according to Beit Hillel.
If he
and not only that, but then he says that it's not shaykh to say ein ra'ui lo l'maher. If he means Beit Shammai, there's no issue of l'maher or lo l'maher. He's either chayav to do it or he's not chayav to do it. Where's the ra'ui lo? And
unless he's giving the explanation of why he's pasking like Beit Shammai in Zivug Rishon, because ein ra'ui l'maher. That if it's just
why he says like Beit Shammai.
I mean, it could be right. He's giving a justification for his psak, because you're raising your eyebrows and saying, what happened to Beit Hillel? I'm telling you why I'm not passing like Beit Hillel, right? Ki ein ra'ui l'maher, that's why I'm passing like Beit Shammai. Right?
What's the feel of the Gemara, which way it passes, before we get to that end?
What?
I didn't learn.
Normally you would just pass it. The
No,
Gemara,
what's
the Gemara
the
doesn't
feel
say.
of it? Like, what's the feel of it? Where's that Rabbi Eliezer brought, which of course...
The rest is to the very end, with Zivug Rishon and Zivug Sheni. It doesn't relate back explicitly to what's going on. Okay, so look what the Rambam did. I think the simple reading of the Rambam is that he paskins like Beit Shammai in Zivug Rishon, and he seems to have paskin like Rabbi Akiva in Zivug Sheni, right? and Beit Hillel is nowhere to be found, right? Now, I think he's just going against the Gemara. But the reason he's going against the Gemara is because he's pasking like the Psukim. And I was read the Psukim. Go back. The reason I brought the Psukim here is I wanted to read the Psukim to you at the very end, and let's be Karaites and paskin from the Torah.
How's it against the Gemara?
Huh?
How's people going against the Gemara? Just because you're not following Beit Hillel? No, I'm
Just
not
like,
saying
right,
why.
He probably thinks that Beit Shammai maybe he would probably say that the Gemara in the end represents
The Gemara never says
the
halacha here.
psak. The psak is taking one from each, right? That's probably how he does it. But look at the psukim. Ki kach ish isha uva'ala. This is his zivug rishon, right? Ki yikach ish isha uva'ala v'haya im lo timtza chen be'einav ki matza ba ervat davar v'katav la sefer kritut v'natan biyadav v'shulchan mibeito. So in zivug rishon, right? Pasuk Aleph is zivug rishon. You need ervat davar. Then pasuk Bet, there's gerushin. V'yatza mibeito v'achavaita li'ish acher. So pasuk Gimel is zivug sheni, right? I'm just reading. I'm turning the story here. It's a narrative, but in the narrative you have halachot, right? So the pasuk Aleph is zivug rishon. Pasuk Beit is gerushin and a second marriage, and pasuk Gimel is what happens in a zivug sheni. Listen.
Her zivug sheni. We don't know if it's the
Stop.
guy's zivug sheni.
What?
It's only her zivug.
It doesn't matter. No.
But it does. It has to be the guy's
No.
zivug sheni.
It's talking about. It doesn't matter. It's marriage number 1, marriage number 2. Look how it reads. Just listen. Look how it reads. The first marriage, right? It's ervat davar. In the second marriage, it says usne'ah isha charon v'katav la sefer kritut.
But it could
There's
be
no.
his zivug rishon.
No. I'm just looking at the way the Rambam reads it. It doesn't. You're reading it like it's Shulchan Aruch. You have to read it in terms of just marriage number 1 and marriage number 2. In pasuk Aleph, in Perikov Daled, it's the first marriage which is described, and there it says ervat davar. In pasuk Gimel, in the second marriage described, it says sne'ah ha'isha acharon is a zivug sheni, and that's basically what the Rambam paskins. The Rambam says in zivug rishon you need ervat davar, which is like Beit Shammai, and in zivug sheni you only need sne'ah ha'isha acharon, which is a variation of Rabbi Akiva.
Or he doesn't agree with Rashi to match up the machloket of
I understand
Rabbi
that,
Yehuda
of
and
course.
Rabbi Yochanan. And he's just posketing like the machloket of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, we said,
But
was
it's- but I'm
zivug
showing
rishon, and
that-
that is that you shouldn't get divorced. And Rabbi Yehuda was zivug sheni, that if you hate her, you
Read the
can.
language of the Rambam. The language of the Rambam is he quotes the psukim.
I
right?
know, because she's trying to read that machloket.
He's reading it into the- this is-
into the machloket.
That's right, and it says ki matzaber ervat davar shene emar, right? Matzaber ervat davar, and then im sna'a zivug sheni.
Because
He's reading the psukim. He's reading the parsha that
or
way.
that he's reading that the Gemara Paskins like this day
Fine, he obviously
and
he's
reading
not
it
going.
back in.
Okay, he's not going against the Gemara, but why does he read the Gemara the way he does? Because he's going back to the psukim, and the psukim simply read indicate that it's different criteria of zivug rishon and zivug sheni.
I'm going to stop saying to you, but what you're saying doesn't make sense because we define Zivug Rishon and Zivug Sheni
That he's
by
not
the
getting
view
into
of the
that.
man.
But he's not getting into that. It's just saying there are 2 marriages described here. There are 2 marriages described here. Okay. Let's stop here. Okay.